He saved her by accident, but he did not know that the woman crying in his arms was carrying a life inside her, a life the Mafia wanted, a life that could change the future of their world. He thought he was helping a stranger, but she was the key to a war he was never meant to see. And now, every step he takes, every breath he draws, brings him closer to a truth that can break his heart or destroy him forever, because love did not come to him softly. It came wounded, it came hunted, and soon he would have to decide, will he protect her, or will he lose everything trying? Title: The Girl He Should Not Have Saved. The night air was heavy with the scent of rain-soaked pavement. Neon signs flickered along the narrow street, casting fractured reflections across puddles that stretched like broken mirrors. Aaron walked alone, shoulders hunched, his mind somewhere far from the city that breathed and trembled around him. He had finished another long shift at the repair shop. His hands were stained with grease, and fatigue clung to his bones like wet cloth. He did not intend to be a hero. He did not intend to be noticed by anyone, yet fate rarely asks for permission. A sudden sound of hurried footsteps cut through the quiet. A woman ran from the mouth of an alley, her hair in disarray, breathing unevenly as though every breath threatened to break her ribs. Her eyes, wide and shimmering with fear, met us for a fraction of a second. A black car turned the corner sharply behind her. Its dark windows had faces that did not need to be seen to be understood. Danger lived inside that car, violent and unhesitating. The woman stumbled. Aaron reached her before his mind had time to weigh the risk. He supported her by the shoulders, feeling the tremor in her muscles. She whispered only one word, but the urgency in her voice dug into him like a hook. Please. The car screeched to a stop only a few steps away. 3 men stepped out, dressed in suits too sharp for this part of the city. Their expressions carried no confusion, only predatory certainty. One of them pointed at the woman. He did not raise his voice. He did not need to. Hand her over. Aaron felt her grip tighten on his arm, as if she believed letting go would mean vanishing completely. His pulse surged, his breath turned hollow, and his thoughts scattered like leaves in a storm. He had no plan, no courage, no weapon, nothing, only instinct. He pulled her behind him and stepped backward into the shadows of an alley. The men moved in pursuit. The chase was brief, frantic, and messy. Aaron grabbed a discarded metal pipe and swung it with more fear than strength. One of the men collapsed. The others hesitated. Just for a moment, it was enough. Aaron and the woman escaped into the deeper maze of the city. They ran until their legs could hardly respond to their bodies' demands. When they finally stopped beneath an old street lamp, the world around them was silent again. The woman held her chest as she tried to steady her breathing. Her hair fell over her eyes, and her voice shook when she spoke. You should have left me. Aaron wiped the sweat from his brow. His heart still pounded, as though it had not finished running. He studied her face, searching for some understanding of what he had become involved in. Who are they? He asked. Why were they chasing you? She did not answer immediately. Her gaze shifted to the dark horizon where the city lights faded into emptiness. Her silence said more than any explanation. Finally, her voice came out soft, yet weighted with something far larger than fear. They are part of the Syndicate. And now, because you helped me, they will hunt you too. Aaron felt the ground tilt beneath him. The Syndicate was a name spoken only in whispers. Dealers in secrets, debts, and blood. No one crossed them without consequence. The woman looked at him with sorrow that felt older than she appeared, as though she had watched many lives destroyed by her presence. My name is Lena, she said. I did not want anyone else to suffer because of me. Aaron's voice was quiet, almost fragile. It is too late for that now. Lena lowered her head, and the street lamp flickered above them. The night seemed to tighten, as if aware of what had begun. Neither of them moved. Neither of them spoke. But in the distance, the muffled growl of engines began once more, drawing closer to the veins of the city. The hunt had not ended. It had only just begun. The engines in the distance grew louder, no longer a distant warning, but a promise drawing closer. Lena straightened her posture, though her limbs still trembled from exhaustion. Aaron could see the weight of her fears settling into her shoulders again, as if it were a familiar companion. He glanced around the street. Shuttered storefronts, dim alleys, the rust smell of rain lingering on metal and concrete. No witnesses, no sanctuary. "We need to move," Aaron said, his voice low but steady. He had no strategy, but still, something inside him refused to abandon her now. Perhaps pride, perhaps stubbornness, or perhaps the faint flicker of something more human. Lena nodded and followed him. They crossed narrow back streets and weaved between old apartment blocks worn, with peeling paint and memories long discarded. Cats watched from windowsills. The city seemed to observe them, silent and patient, as if it already knew how this story might end. Only when they were far from the main road did Lena finally speak. Her voice sounded distant, as though she was recalling something from a past she wished she could erase. "I once belonged to them," she said, "to the Saywin. Not by choice. My father owed them more than money. I was the payment." Aaron slowed his steps. He did not interrupt. "They raised me, trained me, watched every decision I made. I was meant to be loyal to them until my last breath." She swallowed deeply, as if the next words tasted of something bitter. "But I ran. Not because I was brave. I ran because I finally learned something they did not want me to know." Aaron turned his head slightly, eyes narrowing with cautious curiosity. "What did you learn?" She looked at him. Her expression carried no panic anymore, only certainty. "They are planning a war that will burn the city from the inside." The sound of the engines faded again, but silence did not bring peace. It brought the realization that they were being given time, not freedom. Aaron exhaled slowly. "What do they want from you?" Lena pressed her hand to her chest, as if guarding something fragile. "Information, plans, names. I stole them. I have them with me. They cannot let me live." Her other hand reached into her jacket and pulled out a thin metal device, no larger than a key. Cold light reflected across its surface. Something so small, yet capable of reshaping entire fates. Aaron stared at it. He felt the invisible threads tightening around both of them, binding their lives together. "You did not just run," he said quietly. "You betrayed them." Lena nodded. "I did, and they will burn the entire city to find me." For a moment, the world felt very still, the night air pressing around them. Even the wind held its breath. From the shadows of the street ahead came the faint echo of footsteps. Not hurried, not panicked. Measured. Someone was already there, watching them. A figure stepped forward, illuminated by the weak glow of a distant streetlight. He wore the same sharp-cut suit as the men from before, but his posture was different. Calm, certain, his gaze fixed on Lena with the quiet authority of someone who no longer needed to threaten. His presence alone was enough. "Lena," he said, voice even and untouched by emotion, "it is time to come home." Lena froze. Aaron felt the air around them tighten, as though the world itself understood the gravity of this moment. The man continued walking toward them, step by deliberate step. No hurry, no hesitation. Aaron's hand closed around the metal pipe he still carried. His fingers felt numb. His heartbeat pounded loudly enough that it drowned the whisper of the night breeze. Lena took a slow breath that shook at the edges. Her eyes did not look at the man. They looked at Aaron. "Whatever happened," she murmured, "do not let them take this." She placed the metal device in his hand. Her fingers were cold. The man stopped only a few steps away. His expression did not change. He spoke with calm finality. "You should not have saved her, Aaron." Aaron did not remember telling the man his name, but the man spoke it with precision, as if he had known it long before their paths ever crossed. The city lights flickered. Rain began to fall again, soft and steady. The sound merged with the slow, controlled breath of everyone standing in that moment. No one moved. Not yet. The conflict held itself in perfect balance. The next second would decide everything. But that second never came. And the night waited. Rain gathered into thin streams along the pavement, glimmering beneath the streetlights like silver threads unraveling toward darkness. The man in the suit stood without shifting his weight, his presence steady and unyielding, as though the rain itself bent around him rather than touch his shoulders. Lena's breath became shallow and deliberate. Her hands curled slightly at her sides, not as preparation for a fight, but acceptance of one. Aaron held the metal device she had given him. It was light, deceptively so, as though it contained nothing but air. Yet his instinct told him that this object carried the gravity of something far greater than either of them could speak aloud. The man's eyes did not leave Aaron. His voice was measured and soft, like someone explaining an unavoidable truth. You believe this moment is a choice. A quiet pause. It is not. Aaron felt the weight of those words settle inside his chest. He remembered how just hours ago his concerns were small and ordinary. Bills. Work. Another day like the last. Nothing to hint at the violence of fate, waiting just beyond a single moment of instinct. Lena took one step forward, placing herself slightly in front of Aaron, not as someone shielding another, but as someone ready to carry the consequence of her life alone. The rain slid down her face, though her expression remained steady. "Do not touch him," she said. Her voice did not rise. It simply existed, unwavering. The man blinked once. A slow, almost thoughtful gesture. "There is no him in this," he replied. "There is only you. There has always only been you." But his eyes flicked to the device in Aaron's hand. Just once. Just enough to confirm what mattered most. Lena recognized it, too. A subtle tightening of her jaw. A quiet exhale. A truth settling between them. Aaron was no longer a bystander. He had become a threat, simply by knowing, by holding, by being present. "Aaron," she said, her voice lowering, "listen to me very carefully. If anything happens now, you must leave the city. Do not go home. Do not go to work. Do not call anyone you trust. They will already be waiting. You must disappear." Aaron's fingers closed tighter around the device. Warmth pulsed beneath his palm, faint and rhythmic, like a quiet heartbeat. He could feel Lena's urgency pressing against him without her speaking it again. The man raised his hand. Not fast, not aggressive, simply raised, as though requesting silence from the wind itself. The air shifted. Two more figures emerged from the shadows behind him, silent, expressionless. Not men who came to chase. Men who came to finish. Aaron's thoughts scattered into instinct. He stepped in front of Lena before realizing what he was doing. The rain fell harder, tracing the shape of his tense shoulders. For the first time, the man's expression changed, only slightly. Not surprise, but acknowledgement. "You are making this more difficult than it needed to be." Aaron spoke, though his voice felt distant from himself. "Stay away." The man lowered his raised hand. The two figures behind him stepped forward in unison, the movement practiced, rehearsed, familiar. A dance that had ended the lives of many who stood where Aaron stood now. Lena tensed, preparing, though there was no weapon in her hands. Only the weight of her past, and the silent promise she made to herself the day she ran. Aaron shifted his stance, holding the pipe again. The faint pulse of the device in his other hand grew warmer, as if responding to the tension in the air. The man exhaled, slow and patient. "Even now," he said quietly, "you do not understand what you hold." Aaron's pulse hammered in his ears. He was aware of every raindrop, every breath, every fraction of a second that stretched taut and unbreakable between all of them. Something was about to happen. Something inevitable. Something irreversible. The first of the suited figures leaned forward, muscles tightening from movement. Lena stepped with him, ready to intercept. Aaron shifted his weight, ready to swing, to defend, to survive. The rain halted in midair. Not truly, but the moment became so tense, so stretched, that time felt thin to a fragile thread. The attack was about to begin. The first motion was forming. The balance of the moment tipped, and the night held its breath. It held it completely, so that the next second, the one where violence would erupt and lives would change, hovered just beyond reach. It did not arrive. Not yet. Not ever. As though the world itself refused to let the story turn forward until the audience leaned closer, waiting, believing they already knew the outcome, while knowing they truly did not. The moment did not break. It stretched, deepened, and grew heavier, as if the night itself had thickened into something that could be held and touched. The rain poured, steady and unrelenting, but the world beneath it remained still. The suited figures held their poised stances. Lena's breath pressed tight inside her chest. Aaron's grip tightened around the pipe and the device simultaneously, one cold with rainwater, the other warm with something alive inside it. The man in the suit did not move. His eyes were fixed not on Lena now, but on Aaron, with a calm that felt ancient, practiced, earned through decades of witnessing choices that shaped lives like clay. "You are standing in a place where ordinary life cannot return," he said. His tone was not threatening. It was the truth spoken plainly. Aaron's jaw clenched, though he said nothing in response. He felt it. Every part of him understood. The city he had walked through hours earlier had already changed. The coffee shop where he used to sit. The bus stop where he waited every morning. The familiar street corners and worn sidewalks. All of them had become something distant, unreachable, as if they belonged to a stranger now. Lena stepped forward slightly, her shoulder brushing his. Her voice was steady, though her hands were trembling faintly. "There is still time to stop," she said. Her words aimed toward the man, but the weight of them bled into the air around all of them. The man finally blinked again, slow and thoughtful. "You always misunderstood the concept of time," he replied. "Time does not pause. It does not forgive. And it does not return what has already been chosen." The suited figures shifted their stance again, not attacking, not retreating, simply waiting for a signal. Lena stepped back into alignment with Aaron. She looked at him, the shadows of her lashes gathering rain. Her voice slipped between the storm and silence. "I did not want you to be part of this." Aaron shook his head once. The gesture was small, yet absolute. He did not need to speak. His presence here was already an answer. The stillness tightened around them, like a thread pulled too far. The first suited figure inhaled, preparing to move. But something none of them expected occurred. A door opened somewhere behind them. A faint sound, soft, ordinary, like someone stepping out from a building unaware of the tension that held the street by its throat. A young boy, perhaps 8 or 9, stepped into the alley to take out a bag of trash. His small, fragile shape looked impossibly out of place among shadows sharpened by violence. He lifted the trash bag, struggled slightly with the weight, and did not yet notice the confrontation unfolding only several paces away. The suited figure paused mid-breath. Lena's eyes widened. Aaron's pulse stumbled. The man in the suit spoke first. Quiet, controlled. "Do not draw attention." The words were directed at his men, not at Aaron, not at Lena. The boy turned. His eyes finally caught sight of the scene. He froze, not in fear, in confusion. The natural confusion of a child who senses danger but does not recognize its shape. Lena whispered very softly to Aaron, her voice nearly lost beneath the rain. "If we run now, he will follow. If we fight now, the boy will not survive." Aaron's breath fractured for a moment. Options narrowed into impossibilities. The night closed in around them. The man in the suit watched them with a level calm that felt colder than any winter. He did not look at the child. The boy had no meaning in the logic of men who lived by power. But Aaron and Lena did. The boy took one step backward, his small hand clutching the trash bag. His eyes flicked from Aaron to Lena to the men in suits. He did not scream. He did not run. He simply stood in the rain, frozen by something he could not name. Aaron felt his heartbeat twist painfully. If he moved first, the boy would become part of this moment. If he waited, the moment might devour all of them. Lena's hand brushed his for the briefest second, not to comfort him, but to remind him that the next decision would belong to him alone. The suited figure's stance shifted again, weight sliding forward. The attack was ready. The boy remained frozen. The rain poured. The device pulsed once in Aaron's palm. The world held still, balanced on the edge of something irreversible. And the next second, the one that would decide everything, continued to wait just out of reach. The rain did not ease. It fell with steady weight, each drop echoing against stone and metal, creating a rhythm that felt almost deliberate. The small boy stood very still, his fingers curled tightly around the handle of the trash bag, his uncertain eyes reflecting the shapes of strangers locked in a silent war. Aaron lowered his gaze slightly, not to avoid the moment, but to feel it with absolute clarity. Lena beside him remained poised, her posture calm, though the tremor in her breath betrayed the storm within her. The suited men stayed motionless, awaiting only a signal. And the man who led them watched Aaron, as if every possible future rested inside that single held breath. The device in Aaron's hand pulsed again, faint but undeniable, as if responding to his heartbeat. It no longer felt like an object. It felt aware. Lena spoke without turning her head, her voice barely louder than the rain. He should not see this. She did not mean Aaron. She meant the boy. The boy's small shoulders lifted with a sharp breath as understanding, raw and instinctive, finally struck him. Fear, the kind that does not need explanation. Aaron saw the moment the boy decided to run. A desperate instinct, pure and human. The suited figure nearest him shifted his weight, prepared to move faster than that instinct to carry the child. Aaron reacted before thought had time to interfere. He stepped forward, blocking the suited figure's line of movement with a speed born not of skill but necessity. The pipe in his hand lowered just enough to signal a boundary, a line drawn in the rain. The man in the suit watched this quietly. His expression remained unchanged, yet something in the air shifted. Not aggression, recognition. Aaron did not speak. He did not need to. His position said everything. If the child became part of this moment, then Aaron would not allow the story to continue. Not on their terms. The suited figure paused. The motion froze mid-intent, like a string pulled tight, but not released. The boy, sensing this narrow space of mercy, ran. His steps splashed through the puddles. His breath was thin and hurried. He did not look back. He disappeared into the nearest doorway, pulling it shut behind him with a trembling hand. Silence returned. Not relief, not safety. Simply the removal of innocence from a place where it did not belong. The man in the suit let out a slow breath. "You understand the rules now," he said. There was no approval in his tone, no admiration, only acknowledgement. Lena's eyes closed for a single second, not in weakness, but in grief for how inevitable this all was. The man took one step closer. Just one. The distance between them now was measured in heartbeats rather than meters. "Aaron," he said, "give me the device." The rain fell harder. Thunder rolled somewhere far away, low and steady, like something ancient stirring. Aaron did not move. The device warmed in his hand, as though responding to the sound of its own name unspoken. Lena tense again, her entire frame shifting from stillness to readiness. The man did not raise his voice. He did not repeat himself. Instead, he looked at Lena, not with anger, but with a quiet familiarity that spoke of shared history. "You were never meant to run." Lena's reply came soft, but her voice did not waver. "Then you never understood what I truly am." The suited figures adjusted their footing again. Rain pooled around their shoes, forming ripples that vibrated with the tension in the air. Aaron felt his breath slow. His grip tightened around the pipe. The device pulsed stronger now, no longer faint, rhythmic, intentional, alive. The man tilted his head ever so slightly, as if assessing something unseen. His eyes narrowed, not in frustration, but in realization. "That device," he murmured, "has accepted him." Lena's breath caught. Her eyes snapped to Aaron's hand. Shock flickered across her features. Shock, and something else. Something close to hope, but tempered by fear. The man straightened his posture, the stillness around him deepening. The suited figures grew even more silent, as though all sound had been swallowed by awareness. "Then the board has changed," he said. Aaron did not understand the meaning, but he understood the shift. He could feel it. The air thickened, the rain slowed in sensation, and the world seemed to draw in closer, as if leaning to watch the moment unfold. The suited figures lowered their heads, slightly, awaiting command. Lena stood like a shadow carved from determination. Aaron's heart beat once, heavy and resonant. The man opened his mouth to speak, and the world held its breath again. The next movement, the next word, the next choice, it hovered just at the edge of the moment, ready to define everything. Yet it did not happen. Not yet. Not ever. As if the night itself refused to move forward until every listener leaned just a little closer, unable to turn away. The rain struck harder now, collecting into thin streams that traced the angles of their faces and hands. The street glistened like polished glass, reflecting for silhouettes locked in quiet tension, as if the city itself had paused to witness something irreversible. The man in the suit did not speak immediately. Instead, he studied Aaron with a depth that felt like excavation, as if peeling away layers of a life that had once been simple. Aaron felt exposed in a way he did not know how to defend against, but he did not look away. Lena stood only inches from him, yet her presence felt distant, pulled into memories of her own unspoken battles. Her jaw tightened with each passing second. She recognized the way the man watched Aaron. She knew the meaning behind it, and she knew the price of it. The suited men remained still, perfectly still, like statues shaped to resemble obedience. They were not waiting because they feared Aaron. They were waiting because their leader had seen something change, something subtle, something that shifted the order of the world they served. The man finally spoke. "You were not chosen," he said, "but the device has marked you regardless." Aaron did not understand the words, but he understood the tone. It carried acceptance, regret, and inevitability, as though a path had been set, one that none of them could step away from. Lena's voice emerged low and guarded. He does not know what it means. He does not know what he holds. The man's expression did not soften. He will learn, whether he chooses to or not. Aaron looked at the device in his hand again. It pulsed, slow and steady, like a heartbeat that did not belong to him. He felt its warmth spreading into his palm, up his arm, and into his chest, where it settled like a silent vow. "Tell me," Aaron said quietly, "what is this?" The man's eyes shifted toward him, and for the first time, the controlled calm in his posture seemed to tighten, as though acknowledging a question that deserved a truthful answer. "It is a key," he said, "to the war that has not yet begun." Lena closed her eyes for a single moment, and when she opened them again, there was something like grief behind the focus. She was supposed to carry it, the man continued, gesturing faintly toward Lena. She was raised for it, prepared for it. Her existence was shaped for this purpose alone. Lena's voice was steel, and I refused to be their weapon. The man's eyes did not flicker. "Yes, and now he is." Aaron felt the weight of the street on his shoulders, the sound of distant traffic, the hum of streetlights, the steady rain. Everything seemed quieter now, as though fading to make space for what was being spoken. Lena stepped closer to Aaron, her voice barely audible. "You must not give it to them, no matter what happens next." The man did not interrupt. He simply watched. Aaron looked at Lena. Her eyes did not plead. They warned. They acknowledged the danger of choosing him into a war he did not understand, yet she did not apologize for it. Her life had never allowed her the luxury of innocence. Now his would not either. The suited men shifted again, this time with greater purpose. Their feet angled outward. Weight redistributed. Movement prepared. The moment sharpened. Edges formed in the air between them. Every breath became a blade. The man in the suit lifted his hand, not to command attack, but to speak once more, with a voice clear enough to cut through the downpour. "This is your final moment to step away." Aaron felt the pulse of the device answer that statement before he could. It beat once firmly, as if declaring itself. Lena's fingers brushed his arm, steady and unafraid. She did not tell him to run. She did not tell him to choose her side. She simply remained beside him. Aaron raised his head. The rain dripped from his hair and eyelashes. He said nothing, but his silence spoke. The man exhaled, a measured breath that signaled the end of all negotiation. The suited men leaned forward. Lena shifted into position. Aaron tightened his grip. The device glowed faintly in his palm. And just as the first motion of conflict began to form, just as muscles tightened and the moment fractured open, the world held itself perfectly still, balanced, suspended, waiting for what everyone could sense but no one could yet see. The next second hovered just beyond reach, heavy with inevitability, and it did not fall. Not yet. The air seemed to thicken, as though the atmosphere itself knew that what came next would alter far more than the lives of those standing in the rain. The suited men were coiled like shadows given purpose. Lena was poised in calm defiance, a quiet flame refusing to be extinguished. Aaron felt his heartbeat slow not out of peace, but focus, a clarity sharpened by the weight of the moment. The device in his palm glowed more brightly now, not with heat but with intention. Its pulse synced with his, steady, resolute, deliberate, like it had chosen him in a language older than words. The man in the suit lowered his hand fully. The command did not need to be spoken. The first suited figure stepped forward, but there was no sudden clash, no dramatic violence, no roar of motion. Instead, the man stopped only a few steps away from Aaron and Lena. He did not strike. He simply stood there, his expression flat and unreadable, as if he were listening. The rain beat down against the pavement, filling the silence that stretched between every breath. Lena's voice, when it came, carried the weight of a history Aaron had not seen, but could now feel in every fragile thread of this moment. "You are waiting for the signal," she said quietly. The suited figure did not respond, but he did not deny it. The man in the suit, the one who led them, spoke with the gravity of someone who had always been 2 steps ahead of fate. "The war will not begin here," he said. His gaze drifted toward the sky, where storm clouds churned like smoke rising from unseen fire. Not tonight. Aaron could not understand the choice. They had him. They had her. They had the device within arm's reach. The balance of the world seemed to tip toward their favor. Yet they waited. The suited men stepped back 1 pace, perfectly synchronized, not retreating, repositioning. A quiet and calculated reformation of the moment's geometry. Lena's expression darkened, a memory surfacing behind her eyes, a realization, a memory of how the Saywin never moved without purpose, how silence could be a weapon as sharp as a blade. She whispered, almost to herself, "They are not here to take it." Aaron turned toward her. "What do you mean?" Her gaze was locked forward, as if she could see something beyond the rain and the men and the night itself. "They are here to see if it awakens." The man in the suit met her eye, and for the first time, there was something like acknowledgement in his expression, a silent confirmation. Aaron's pulse stuttered. The device glowed again, stronger, warmer, alive in his hand. It did not feel like he was holding it anymore. It felt like it was holding him. The suited men observed his reaction with the stillness of trained predators. No anger, no urgency, only interest. The man in the suit stepped closer, close enough for the glow of the device to cast faint light against his face, close enough that Aaron could see that his eyes held not malice, but something deeper, something ancient, something inevitable. "You cannot return to your old life, Aaron," he said, "not because we forbid it, but because you have already crossed a threshold where life divides into before and after." Lena inhaled slowly, as though the night had turned heavier against her ribs. She spoke softly. "He does not belong to you." The man replied with the same ease one uses when correcting a child who misunderstands a simple truth. "No, he belongs to the war." The word hung in the air like distant thunder. War, not yet begun, not yet seen, but already breathing. Aaron's mind raced, yet his body remained still, frozen not in fear, but in the kind of focus that arrives only when reality shatters and reforms around a single undeniable truth. The suited men shifted again, and this time they stepped backward, all 3, synchronously, retreating, not defeated, not discouraged, simply conceding the moment to time. The man in the suit gave Aaron one final look, not threatening, not warning, a look that said the story had only begun and that every path forward led deeper, deeper into violence, into truth, into destiny. "We will see you again," he said. "Not if, when." Then they turned and walked away into the rain, not rushing, not hiding, moving with the ease of those who knew the city belonged to them. Aaron and Lena stood alone beneath the storm, surrounded by silence that felt almost unreal. The device continued to pulse. Steady, warm, alive. Lena exhaled shakily, her voice unsteady for the first time. They will not chase us tonight. They are waiting for something. Someone. Aaron turned to her. Who? She did not answer immediately. Her eyes lowered, the rain tracing slow paths down her cheeks like tears she refused to shed. Her voice emerged fragile and heavy. My brother. The word lingered in the cold air, carrying weight that changed everything. The night seemed to tighten around them. The storm swelled, and somewhere in the city, another presence awakened. The next second hung, suspended, ready to break, but it did not. Not yet. The rain didn't stop. It only grew heavier, like the sky itself was listening and waiting. Aaron stared at Lena, his breath caught somewhere between disbelief and the slow, cold realization of how deep he had already sunken into this. Her brother, the one she had never spoken about, the one she had avoided naming every time the past came close. Lena didn't look at him. She couldn't. Her eyes were fixed on something far away, something Aaron couldn't see. He was taken, she whispered. Not kidnapped, not stolen by strangers. He chose to go with them. The rain swallowed her voice, but Aaron heard every syllable. He believed in their vision. He believed we were meant to be more than human, that what the device awakens is evolution. Aaron's grip tightened around the device. It pulsed once like a heartbeat, or a signal responding to the very conversation. Lena stepped forward and placed her hand lightly atop Aaron's. Her touch steadied him, or maybe steadied the device. The rain around him seemed to soften for a second, as if listening. My brother's name is Eris, she finally said. So close to yours that I took it as a warning the day we met. And yet, I stayed. Aaron felt something inside him shift, just slightly, not love, not certainty, but connection, the dangerous kind. Lena continued. Eris believed the world is on the verge of collapse. He said the Saywen were preparing not to control the future, but to survive it. And he believed the device was the key to who lives through what comes and who doesn't. A distant rumble of thunder rolled across the city, slow and deep, like footsteps of something approaching. Aaron looked down at the device. Its glow was steady now, almost calm, as though it had decided something, chosen something, or someone. They began walking, not running, not hiding, moving through side streets where the world felt old and quiet. The city lights blurred in the rain, soft and hazy, like memories too fragile to touch. They passed shuttered storefronts, broken street lamps, and alleyways where time stood still. But Aaron felt something following them. Not footsteps, not eyes, a presence, like the air itself was leaning closer. Lena stopped beside an abandoned tram station, its roof cracked, its floor covered in water that reflected neon signs flickering from across the street. This place, she murmured, voice distant, was the last place I saw him before he chose them. He said something to me, something I didn't understand then. Aaron waited. Lena's voice softened into something that sounded like heartbreak disguised as memory. He said, the day the device awakens, the world will divide into those who remember who they were and those who don't. The rain slowed, perfectly timed, unnaturally delicate, as if the world itself paused to hear what came next. Aaron turned toward her, but before he could speak, a soft glow flickered across the tram station wall. Not from the device, not from the street, from someone standing in the reflection, a silhouette, tall, still, watching. But when Aaron turned to look, no one was there, only the rain, only the silence, only the pulse of the device. Warmer now, closer, call and answer. Lena didn't move. She didn't have to look to know. Her voice broke just slightly. He's here. Not seen, not spoken to, but present. The air shifted, not with fear, but with destiny. And just when it seemed he would step into view, just when the moment tensed into the shape of revelation, the lights from a passing train flared through the station, blinding, flooding everything with white, just long enough for the silhouette to vanish again, leaving only the echoes, only the weight, only the sense that the story had just crossed a point beyond return. Aaron and Lena did not speak. They didn't need to, because now he knew they were ready, and he was waiting for the moment they would have to face him, not as strangers, not as enemies, But as the two halves of a destiny that was never meant to be gentle, the city held its breath. The device pulsed once more, and then nothing. Not yet. The night did not return to its ordinary rhythm after the silhouette disappeared. Something unseen had shifted in the air, as if the city itself now listened with intent. Aaron and Lena walked with steady steps, neither speaking, yet both fully aware that silence had changed meaning. It was no longer absence of sound. It was anticipation. The device remained warm in Aaron's palm. Its light no longer pulsed randomly. It seemed to respond to something approaching, something familiar, or something inevitable. They followed the tram tracks to the old industrial district, where the buildings rose like sleeping giants. Rust-covered warehouses stood shoulder to shoulder, windows darkened by decades of smoke and secrets. The smell of oil and rain blended into the kind of atmosphere that held memories nobody spoke about aloud. Lena stopped at the gate of a forgotten textile factory. Its walls were covered in faded graffiti, names of people who once wanted to leave a mark in the world before they vanished into it. Aaron looked at her expression, and the truth settled in him like a quiet dawn. She had been here before. "This is where I lost him," Lena said, her voice steady, but her hands trembling faintly. "Where his path changed, where he chose him over me." Aaron studied her carefully. There was a pain in her posture, not raw, but deep, like a scar beneath the skin that still remembered the blade. The factory door groaned when Aaron pushed it open. The interior was vast, swallowed in shadows that clung to the steel beams and broken machinery. Rainwater dripped from holes in the ceiling, forming puddles that reflected distorted shapes on the floor. But one thing was certain. Someone had been here recently. Footprints. Light, precise, deliberate, not scattered in panic, not careless. Someone wanted their presence to be known. Aaron's heart beat harder. The warmth from the device spread up his arm like a slow, rising tide. Lena's voice lowered to a whisper. "He is calling you. Not me. Not them. You." Aaron wanted to deny it, to reject whatever path he had stumbled into the night. He saved her. But there was no space left in the world for denial, only direction. They walked deeper into the factory. The floor vibrated with faint, rhythmic tremors, as though machinery was breathing somewhere far beneath them. Aaron felt the device responding to the vibrations, aligning itself, synchronizing. Lena stopped when they reached the center of the factory floor. There, a single chair stood under a hanging industrial lamp. The lamp flickered once, twice, then glowed steadily. On the chair rested a folded black coat. Lena inhaled sharply. Her knees nearly gave way. Aaron reached out and steadied her by the elbow. She did not push his hand away this time. "That was his," she said. "He never went anywhere without it." The factory lights flickered above them, not from malfunction, but from power being rerouted. Someone had turned the building on. A voice traveled across the loudspeakers. Quiet, controlled, familiar in a way that did not belong to memory, but to inevitability. "Aaron." The voice spoke his name with the calm confidence of someone who had already calculated the outcome. Lena's eyes filled with a fear that was not only fear, but grief. The voice continued. "You have taken your first step, but you are still looking at the world with the eyes of someone who believes he has a choice." Aaron scanned the shadows, searching for source. The voice remained gentle, patient, like a teacher speaking to a student who had finally arrived. "Do not ask why I called you here. You already know." The device pulsed once. Aaron's breath halted. Lena shook her head, barely able to form words. "Aaron, you do not have to listen. We can leave. We can disappear. We can—" The voice cut through her plea, smooth and unwavering. "You know the truth, Aaron. Leaving was never an option for you." The lights went out. Absolute darkness. Not empty darkness. Darkness filled with presence. Aaron felt it. Close. Closer. Standing behind him. The air shifted with the weight of a figure stepping forward. Lena grasped Aaron's hand. The device burned against his skin, bright enough to illuminate, but the moment before its light revealed the face in the dark. It stopped. It froze. Held its breath, as if waiting for something. Lena whispered, terrified and hopeful in the same breath. Aaron, do not turn around. And the world held still, balanced on the edge of revelation. But the moment did not break. Not yet. Final episode. The choice. The darkness did not feel empty. It felt aware, alive, as if every breath Aaron took stirred something waiting in the unseen space behind him. Lena's hand trembled in his. Her voice was quiet, but the weight of her fear filled the room like smoke. Aaron, listen to me. You do not have to turn around. You do not have to face him. You can walk away. We can leave the city, disappear into places where they will never find us. Her words reached him clearly. They were soft, but they were not weak. Aaron stood perfectly still, every muscle drawn tense beneath the skin. The device in his hand remained silent, yet warm, like a final breath held and never released. Then the voice behind him spoke again, closer now, no longer amplified, no longer distant. Aaron, you have already seen the world as it is. You have seen what fear does to people. You have seen how power shapes reality. The voice was calm, patient, assured. Not a threat, a promise. You know that running will not save you. Running only delays the moment when everything collapses. Lena's grip tightened, desperate, pleading. Turning around means losing yourself. It means letting them decide who you become. I cannot watch you break the way he did. Aaron felt her pain as if it were his own, a pain forged from love and loss and memory. He closed his eyes. He breathed slowly. The sound of rain outside the factory faded into a distant softness. He understood. This moment was never about fear. It was about choosing the shape of his future, the shape of himself. He released Lena's hand, not with force, not with rejection, but with a careful, steady motion that carried both sorrow and gratitude. She gasped, her heart breaking in silence, but she did not reach out again. Aaron raised the device between his palms. It glowed now in a slow, rhythmic pulse, the same rhythm as his heartbeat. The voice behind him waited. It did not rush him. It understood that the choice was sacred. Aaron opened his eyes, and he turned. The world did not explode. There was no scream, no shattering revelation, no dramatic collapse. Only a quiet recognition. Aaron and the figure before him stood face to face. Two paths that had circled the same truth. Two lives shaped by forces neither had fully understood until now. Aaron spoke. His voice did not shake. I am not here to run. I am not here to kneel. I am here to understand. The figure nodded slowly, as if this was the answer he had been waiting for all along. Then come, he said. There is much to learn, and the world is changing faster than anyone realizes. Lena closed her eyes. A tear traced her cheek, silent and unresisted. Aaron looked back at her one last time, not as farewell, not as promise, but as truth. Thank you, he said. She nodded, unable to speak. Aaron stepped forward. The figure stepped back, guiding him toward the deeper halls of the factory, toward the future that waited. The door closed behind them. Lena remained where she stood, beneath the flickering lamp, surrounded by echoes of what had been and the trembling shape of what was yet to come. Outside, the rain finally stopped. The city inhaled. The story did not end in victory or defeat, not in reunion or separation. It ended where all human journeys truly begin, with a choice and a step taken into the unknown.